Holy cow, I can't help myself. Every time I hear those bagpipes, makes me want to either make love or fight. And
Well, I hope it's fight.
So obviously, you know now I've got Mr. Bobcat Goldthwait with me. I'm so honored to have you
Oh,
here.
thanks, buddy.
I hope it's to fight.
I hope it's to fight. Well, either way, I don't know. Either way, it's not going to go well for me. I'm just gonna present.
I got you. Very good. Holy cow. It's true with those bagpipes. You know, the bagpipes, not that you've ever wanted to know this, but they're a war instrument.
Sure.
And there's two tenors and a bass drum, big sticks, right? And that tone that those are on, it hits the mind at a tone where it makes you afraid. And the chanter, where the rhythm and the tune itself comes out is like left flank, right flank, whatever, surrender.
Right.
You know, run away, run away.
Well, bagpipes is a weird instrument because it's not like any other instrument where you're blowing and then it comes out. You're actually continually filling this bladder, which is really weird, and then manipulating that. You know what I'm saying?
It was goat stomach in the very beginning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and what you had to do, you got the goat stomach, and then you had to season it so the pores would get closed. Otherwise, you were doing a lot of huffing and puffing.
A lot of huffing and puffing.
Yeah, like I got those 4 kids that way. A lot of
huffing and puffing. Now, how old were you when you started playing bagpipes?
You know, holy cow. You should do one of these.
Oh, really? No, but like,
I tell you,
what would draw a kid to that instrument? It's not like you meet a lot of chicks, you know. No one. You know, no one at a party says, "Hey, Roddy,
bring your bagpipes."
Yeah, but you know,
you know,
what's a real panty dropper is Amazing Grace.
I'm a panty dropper. I'll tell you.
You know, so all these guys are sitting around with folk guitars, doing Simon and Garfunkel, and then you come in, wah, 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 wah.
You know, I can only pick it up about 8 years old, 9 years old.
Wow.
I've seen one picture of myself as a baby, and the first thing you get is a chanter, because it's the second hardest instrument in the world to play. There's 8 notes, but there can be 16 movements in one bar. And the scales are so complicated, you have to learn from a chanter. And when you get your bagpipes, that's a big deal. That's like if you're Jewish and what's that when you become a man?
Yeah, your bar mitzvah.
Your bar mitzvah. I have not had one.
Well, so, but you know, by
the way, I'm waiting.
I used to, I used to direct the Jimmy Kimmel show.
Yes.
But people would be surprised about that anyways. You know, it's like, the guy who's banned from the other talk shows for setting them on fire and stuff, he's our director. So ABC really didn't promote that. But despite my persona, I'm very quiet when I'm working. We work together. You know, yes. I'm not a loudmouth. And so I had an Irish whistle that I would play over the headset when it was too much static. Nice. I would just a little Danny boy, and everybody would shut up because it was painful. So the crew chipped in and bought me bagpipes, and it was the hardest thing to wrap my brain around. I mean,
it's really difficult because you got to keep the pressure in the bag going.
Yeah,
you have to tune the 2 tenors and the bass drone, and they all got a link with the chanter. It's 4 woodwind reeds in it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like...
It's like playing 4 flutes that you're not blowing into.
Yes. Yeah. You're only blowing into one place, and that does nothing.
It's a little bit like playing an electric keyboard that you're responsible for an extension cord that keeps running.
You forgot it.
Yeah. It's a terrible instrument. It's really impossible to play.
Yeah, but wait a second. If you're like, it doesn't matter if you're Gandhi, if you're Michael Collins, if you're Ronald Reagan, at your funeral, there's bagpipes.
Sure, but and there's no way, there's not a dry eye in the house.
No, except you, of course.
Yeah,
when can I get the hell out of here?
The guy who's passing out.
Piper.
Yeah. No, I remember when my mom passed away, and no one told me bagpipes were coming, and this guy just comes over the hill in the graveyard, and it's the waterworks,
So,
you know.
Oh, oof. It is. It's made to hit those those receptors in that.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't have many pictures as a kid, and just like you said, I was on an Indian reservation called the Paw. I was 6. I can't imagine me going, I want to do that.
Yeah.
You know, or put some war paint on me.
I'm sure with the native people, they really love the bagpipes.
That's the other thing.
At a powwow.
You know, and I was always told that I saw a parade and said I want to do that. But I found out recently in, trying to find out anybody that would claim me, that that wasn't necessarily the case. And I come from a long line of, like, for instance, my great whatever was Secretary of State to Jefferson Davis. And I come from a line, I'm just the only rebel of the whole bunch of them.
Well, clearly that's a little bit antisocial as a tiny boy.
You just...
That's really...
You just agreed so quickly with that.
Well,
yes.
I mean, it is very weird that you gravitated to that instrument.
And you know what? Like, by the time I was 12, I was picked to play for the Rose Bowl parade out of... they needed 50 out of the world. And I just had so much practice. The other thing I would do is I'd steal meat pies. I love meat pies.
Right.
And when they have these contests over the weekend, they have what they call a ceilidh, which is the big blowout Saturday night. You know, every Scotsman drinking, and so I remember this one time in the cardboard boxes were these meat pies, but they'd never let me in because I was too young, and so boom, I snuck up and I grabbed this huge, beautiful box of meat pies, and I went to take off, and it's a tent, and the ropes of the tent, and I went right over, and meat pies are sliding in there, ladies are going down. Well, your punishment is, during the competitions, there's like the sword dance, ladies do the Highland fling. Well, they need a bagpiper. Right. You'd play it all damn day. Well, what happens then is you get really damn good at them.
So tell me about this when you were at the what did you say, the Rose Bowl?
The Rose Festival parade.
Okay, and what I'm interested in is, when did you get the juice? You know what I mean, like that crowd going nuts. Did you get it back then? Yeah, it's crazy, right? Because I got that when I was like 6 from a big auditorium, and they went nuts.
Tell me what you did.
Oh, I tumbled. I did like a little routine, but.
Wait. I just want to visualize.
Yeah, me do it. But here's the thing: it was because I was a fat kid that the crowd went ape. You know, they went nuts because there's this little fat boy, you know, doing these kips, these flips and stuff. Yeah. And I just thought, man, I'm really good. But it was just really funny to see this little fat kid.
Okay, let me tell. I haven't shared this with anyone because I just found out about it. You know, as your people pass on, and you know, you're left, etc. And I found this out. When I was 6 years old, I was in this Indian reservation, the Paw, THEPAS, Manitoba. And they put me in a singing contest, but not a singing contest of kids, a singing contest, you know, of the whole rock-a-roll. And I had a sister, and I've just learned this. My sister told me, listen, Roderick, I'm going to be at the back of the room with my hand, just sing to my hand. And I came in second.
Wow.
Now, you know.
Who was number one? Paul Williams.
Paul Williams.
I'm trying who beat you? Where's that guy now? Where's that guy?
Yeah, but I've never had a problem in front of a camera. You've seen me socially. I'm not a good.
No,
I suck.
We have that similar thing. I think folks would be really surprised on how quiet we are when we're not. When the mic's on, when the camera's on, we tend to bring it. But
yeah.
But in real life, we both kind of we mumble. We've
time.
had some of our finest conversations
I never-
completely inaudible.
And I had no trouble understanding you, nor do I.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it is strange, you know. And when you were singing, then did you belt it out? Were you really loud?
He's like, once there was a mousie with a piece of cheese. Snap went the trap, and there went the cheese. Something, something, something. But now, get this, Bob. So, in my business of professional wrestling, one of the things that's most feared by the young guys coming up is doing an interview. And I just have never had any trouble, never wanted to be in front of a camera, but never thought about it. But you know what I've been doing all these years? I've been looking at her hand.
Ah.
And didn't, you know, and
Right.
when I go back and think about it, I don't see anybody.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody in the arena when I come in. I seem to have to be able, I can go someplace.
Right.
It's her hand.
That's fascinating. Now,
Let's move on.
no, it is. I have no
You're killing
idea.
me here.
No, but I have no idea. I mean, I have an idea when I get done that I did well or okay, but I never know. I actually really don't know how well I did, one way or the other. You know,
Yeah.
I always, and it's not me fishing for a compliment afterwards, going, "Hey, did I do well?" It's truly like, you know, I go, "Oh, I did do well." You know, it's really strange, and I don't think it's my self-loathing either. It's like I think when I'm doing it, I'm in such a panic to deliver that I'm not really thinking about the
nerves.
laughs or the applause or the boos or anything. You know.
You know, I was going to do a set at the Comedy Store, and I was talking to you, and you said to me, just talk fast.
Yeah.
You remember?
Yeah.
You know, obviously, I'm not the greatest comedian in the world, but it worked.
Well, the other night I went up to La Lucha Vavoom, and so
I wanted to come so bad.
I know, and I was, and so I just thought, you know, I'm not gonna. It's mayhem there, and so I thought, well, I'll be the heel, you know. So I came out, and they introduced me. And I came out and I'm kind of being stuffy, and I will, you know, they go, "Oh, you're in Police Academy, you know, and that character, you do that voice." And I go, "Well, you know, I'm a director now," and I'm, you know, and I keep going on, and they go, "Come on, you guys want to hear the voice?" And I'm going, "Oh, that's not going to happen, man. You know, I'm a serious filmmaker," and the crowd's getting really mad.
And you're a lucha libre, right?
Yeah, and finally I just go, you know, I'm not about to do that voice for a bunch of dumb wrestling fans, you know. And so now they're all like booing, and I got them really. I don't think there wasn't an ass in the seat. They were all standing up, giving me the finger and screaming, and I go, especially I'm not going to embarrass myself in front of a bunch of dumb wrestlers, you know. And so then,
that works.
and then
just as good.
little Cholo comes out. He's the wrestler, and you know, we do a bit, and then he puts me in a headlock, and he goes, "Apologize to the fans," and then he goes, "Do it in the voice." So
you had to do it in the
so I'm going,
voice?
yeah. So I do the voice, and yeah,
loved it. They
yeah,
loved it,
and
right?
and you know what was great? One was I had never been booed like that, and I realized, oh, this feels just as good as laughs and cheers.
Better,
especially with the crowd. Yeah, and especially with the crowd. You know, it's funny. I shouldn't say I haven't been booed like that. I have been booed like that, but you know, we were talking before I got on. You know, Ron Williams was my good friend, and one of the things he and I discussed was, you know, I said, you know, you want the whole world to love you, and I'm not so interested in that. I just want them to listen to me. You know, and I said, your form of neuroses is way more lucrative, you know. It's not so lucrative because we would do shows together, you know, and people would go, "Oh my God, Ron Williams showed up," and then they would say, and then Bobcat Goldthwait came on, and you know what he said, you know, and that almost meant more to me, you know.
You know, down at the Olympic Auditorium, Andy Kaufman, he would go and he would do his Elvis imitation for the police. The police would let him in the building. Then he'd watch what I did. And then he'd take me in his van and haul me over to Melrose Improv. And he would do it. And these people, he'd get to the point where people, it wasn't booing. They were walking out.
Yeah.
It was what we would call white heat. You know, there's red heat, that's cool. White heat, you know, you get stabbed.
Yeah, then you're worried about your safety getting in and out of the building.
Yeah.
I'm not really proud of this story, but I'll give you an example of white heat. I did a bunch of dates touring with Nirvana, and I actually genuinely feel bad. I don't think I would say this now, but I was opening for Nirvana in Chicago, and Michael Jordan had retired from basketball. And none of us really even knew what was going on. But when we drove into town, there's all these signs, you know, Michael, we still love you. And we're going, what's going on? And they had to have it explained to us because it's really the drama club. It's not a bunch of jocks. And so I get out there, and I'm doing okay, actually. And then I say, you know, hey, I feel bad for Michael Jordan, but for $40 million a year, I'd shoot my own dad in the head. And there was this noise in Chicago, and it wasn't even a boo. It was just... It was like, kill him, get him.
Yeah,
and
hang him.
And in order to get me out of the building, they had to actually... There was more people waiting to beat me up backstage than there was to meet the band.
How did you feel about that?
Oh, I just thought it was funny, you know, and I just said, you know, F you, I'll keep talking, you'll never see Nirvana, keep booing me, you know, I just kept, and the only person laughing was Kurt. I remember walking by him, and he's like, I can't believe you said that. So they had to put a towel over my head.
Nice.
And my feet never hit the floor. The bouncers just threw me in the van, you know.
And got you out of there.
Yeah, but that was really... Now, what kind of guy was Andy? I was always nervous to meet him because he was a big influence on me, but I was always nervous that you know, heaven forbid, and I know he's dead, but you know, you don't want to meet your heroes because it's so disappointing sometimes.
Yeah.
And I know Andy would never break character, so that just seemed like a big drag to me.
Just before we get out, the way we got out of Madison Square Garden every night is they'd put Bobby Orton, Ace, and myself in the ambulance. And woo!
Right.
And then we come to the Ramadama on 52nd. Mm-hmm. You know, it would stop. The lights would go off. The back doors open. Bobby and I would come out with our bags, our cowboy hats, go to the bar, and, you know, another night begun.
Yeah. It is that weird line when you're the heel and you get the crowd so mad. Sometimes I think that the audience appreciates it because you're part of the drama, you're part of the story, so they're excited that you're not disrespecting what they're about. So I think they appreciate that. But then we all know that there's fans that take it a little too far.
I've been stabbed 3 times.
By fans?
Last time an inch from the heart.
We're using the term fan loosely. I don't know if that's really a fan.
Yes, of course, by 3 fans.
By fans. He loves me so much. He stabbed me in the heart. That's not really a fan.
You know, when for dinner, like, you figure it this way. Everybody, you know, you do 4 weeks of promos for, we'll pick a town, Poughkeepsie. I used to fight in the, not Poughkeepsie, Pico Rivera. I used to fight in the bar in Pico Rivera. And you do like 4 weeks of interviews for Pico Rivera. Well, by the time you got there, and Pico Rivera is a wonderful place, just a bunch of Hispanics drinking Corona.
But you talk so much smack.
Oh! And what they'd do is they'd put their knife, they'd get a box of popcorn, and they'd put the knife up into the popcorn.
Wow.
And then when you came back, they swiped back into the popcorn, and then the crowd would close off.
Wow.
Oh,
wow.
Many a night. But so I got to take a break now. Okay. I'll take a quick break and come back because we got to talk about Andy Kaufman, how to save the world. God bless America. We'll be right back with the one and only Bobcat Goldthwait. God bless. I love him too. I love him. I'm not kidding. Bagpipes play and it picks my spirit up right away. And away I'll go. I'm honored to be with Bobcat Goldthwait. So Andy Kaufman, you never met Andy?
No, I never met him because I know that he was squirrely and I didn't want to be disappointed.
Oh well, that he was squirrely.
Yeah.
And you didn't want to be. Yeah. Didn't you light the Kimmel stage on fire?
No, it was the Tonight Show. But
the Tonight Show.
Yeah. Welcome back to pot calling kettle
black.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andy Kaufman. To my knowledge, he never drank.
No.
He never smoked. No. Nothing. He loved chocolate mousse pie.
Yeah.
And at that time, he was working on the new Dick Van Dyke Show.
Sure. That's how I first became aware of him. He was on the new Dick Van Dyke Show, and my mother was like, you got to see this guy. And I came in, and it was amazing. He would just come out and do Mighty Mouse. He would just do...
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. Here I come.
So how did you meet him? How did you become aware?
Andy was a wrestling fan.
Yeah, always was. I mean, it wasn't
Yeah.
like something that later in his career he discovered. It was something he always loved.
And I think that he was born on the East Coast, and the wrestling he used to watch was like Classy Freddie Blassie, because Andy did like Brunch with Blassie.
Yeah.
So that era of pro wrestlers. But he had this idea, and I'll tell you one that's just, I'll just tell you the truth. I got in so much trouble for this. I did an interview in the Olympic Auditorium, and I sat on a donkey that I painted like a zebra. That's the best part of it, okay? It just goes down here from here. So now I'm on this donkey, and I've got a T-shirt that says Conquistador de la Guerreros, Conqueror of the Guerreros, right? And then I got the worst-looking sombrero in Tijuana I could find, and I got a stick with a string and a carrot. And so I think it's either 52 or 36. RI 95171. Get your tickets now. That's whatever that was. And the owner of the station was about to throw us off the air. Rod's in trouble. And the promoter, Mike LaBelle, came down, and this was on a Wednesday. So that was our TV night. Friday was our house show night. You get in there and you apologize to those people that, I don't know what worse you could have done to me than you already are, Mike LaBelle, but it's going to be all right. And so Friday came, and there's a very famous sports announcer from that. His name was Jimmy Lennon, and he was the uncle of the Lennon sisters. And if you watch not HBO, Showtime, his son, Jimmy Lennon Jr., does all the boxing and stuff. And so I used to play the bagpipes. I came 5th in the world when I was 14 in grade A competition. I was the only kid there. All the rest were men. Caber Fay was the name of the band. And so I said to Jimmy, would you please ask these people to stand for the Mexican national anthem? Jimmy, like the God bless and great announcer he is. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please rise for the Mexican national anthem. And they got up, and I'm not kidding you, you could have heard a pin drop. Hands over their hearts, little babies, okay? I'm not, and honest, as he's bringing the microphone down where you move your fingers, it's called the chanter. As he's bringing him down there, I'm thinking, I'm going to die. There's no way. There's no way. And boom, I played them bagpipes up, and La cucaracha, da 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 da.
Oh my
da 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 da. Oh, the seats were bolted. The seats were bolted to the cement. Are coming up, and they're coming into the. So now I got the microphone. We come back to Andy Kaufman, and I don't know how this came out of my mouth, but the thing is this: when they start coming into the ring, they all make the same mistake. They duck between the top and second rope. That's punting time.
Right.
You don't want them to get anything. Okay. I guess as I was doing my punting, I said, "Is there no justice?" Yeah. I don't know. I needed to say something. Well, Andy just thought that was the funniest thing. So now there was underground tunnels there in the Roman Colosseum. The only way it could be saved would be becoming a church, because Satan lived there. I know. I lived right next to him. And finally, with the chairs and like the police full scale, woo, 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 gas, boom, get him out of there. And Andy took me in his van and brought me right to the Improv, Bud Friedman, and started doing exactly what I was. And he kept on it and on, and I'm waiting for the brilliance of the punchline.
Right.
And just having lived it,
yeah,
I thought that he might have caught on. It wasn't the smartest thing to do, but no, for Rod. And he went, and I'm not kidding you, half that improv was gone.
Yeah.
With like white heat. And Andy loved it.
Well, it's you know what's weird though? Sometimes you do something and you think, well, they liked it when I did this, so they're gonna like this, and they don't.
They don't.
And I know you're touchy about God, but I'll tell you, I did a comic relief once where I dressed as Christ and did magic tricks. The amazing Christo, water to wine, wine to water, tap the deck, and back to rice again. And
wait a second, say it again.
It was remember the Marshall Bodine TV magic trick. So it was like water to wine to water, tap the deck, and back to rice again. And so I'm doing this, and I'm dressed as Christ. And there was a woman who had a sign that said, "I heart Bobcat." And as I proceed to just go down in flames, much like the real Christ, she's denying that she's with me. No, she's denying that
she's denying?
Yeah, the poster goes down. It's like the rooster's crowing. And I walked by, I remember I bombed so hard that night, and I walked by Billy Crystal. He's on the way out to host, and he goes, "Biggest balls in show business." He says to me as we pass each other. But
that's a great compliment.
But you're like going, I think this is going to go over. And it's like, oh, man.
Yeah. And
that wasn't one that I was doing to bait the crowd. I really thought people would think it was funny. And, man, they hated me. Oh, man, they hated me.
I don't know which one of us we've had them hate more.
I think it's you. But it's only occasionally I cross the line in physical. The other night I was in Roanoke and.
Roanoke?
And this woman's going, "It's my birthday, blah, blah, blah." And she's interrupting the show, and she keeps interrupting the show, and I deal with it, and then it gets a little ugly, and this guy's like, she's like, "I was out smoking," and this guy goes, "Go out and smoke," and I go, "That guy is terrible. He wishes you had cancer. I only wish the best for you." And so the husband
said to her when he went out.
Well, the husband's yelling at me. And so they finally get the bouncers, and they're taking this whole party out. And just as they're about to leave the door, I go, "Happy birthday." And the whole crowd starts singing "Happy Birthday." Boom. She breaks away and comes up on stage.
Breaks the line, right?
Yeah, she made it to the stage. And I know as a comedian, you got to back away and make sure there's air between you and them.
Zone.
Because if there's no air and then someone shoves and then it's a lawsuit and it's just...
Yeah.
But this isn't the kind of stuff Jim Gaffigan worries about. This isn't the kind of stuff most comedians worry about. Having the zone.
Yeah, they don't. I bet you they don't.
No, they don't.
These days, and I got. First thing I need to say is at the Comedy Store in Sunset Boulevard, they all the comedians there have been so gracious to me. And I even got my name up on the wall.
Great.
But I don't deserve it. You deserve it.
Wow.
But it's just, you know what? It was one of those really sweet. And I got up there every night at 2:00 in the morning. Thank you to our pal, Sal and Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah, but that's what you have to do. You got to go up.
I was trying to do a Broadway show. They got me doing stand-up. Talk about ruin me for life.
I know. It derails you. It derails you. If you become a good comedian, it almost derails you from other things in a weird way.
Like your actual feelings.
It's similar to wrestling in the fact that it's you're really in the moment. I mean, I always respect wrestling because it's the idea that you're doing this performance while you're physically getting injured. If you're on a set, right, and just imagine one tiny thing happened to the lead actor. We would stop production. The director wouldn't say, "What are you doing? Just keep going."
Yeah, absolutely.
Say your lines.
I bleed a little. They'll love it. I was doing a show called The Highlander, and the television show.
Right.
And so, I think the star's name was Adrian something. And if you've been to Vancouver, Canada, there's a roller coaster made out of wood as you're coming in that just stays up all year round. So he had a samurai sword. They gave me a claymore, which is a two-handed sword from Scotland. But of course, they wanted me to use one hand. Now, the coach, fencing coach, was a guy, Bob Armstrong, an old-timer from England. And, I'd had like an hour and a half lesson. So now they want me to back up the hill of the roller coaster while using the claymore with one hand. You know, and I'm trying to remember parry, thrust, all that.
Right.
So Adrian, you know, sometimes when, you know, guys, they react to wrestlers different. They want to,
They want to get butch. They try to tough it up.
They want to get butch.
They want to show that they're not
They want to puff
babies.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so this guy, I'm trying so hard, and this guy started going, well, come on. Come on. A third one, come on. Right through the guard of the fucking, right through the guard of the samurai sword, cut his finger half off. They had to, now, set.
Yeah.
Shut down,
yeah.
Rod. What are you doing?
Yeah,
you know, I would have got an award if I was in wrestling.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, you know, and you know, and so to me, it is really the hardest form of performing. Period.
It's difficult.
You know, it's not asked of other performers to continue the scene while you're physically hurt.
Yeah, it's, you know,
only are you not it's expected. It's insane.
There's some things that comedians, stand-up comedians, and wrestlers have in common. Quite a few, actually. Neither one are employed.
Yeah, but you're supposed to deliver the show no matter what. No matter what. And it's not even like the audience and the promoters don't even consider for a moment that any of this stuff would be bad for the show. You know?
No, they're just
like, sometimes I'm going out in front of a crowd and I'm like, and they're out of their minds, and I'm like, how can I cheer these people up? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my job.
See, yeah, but you don't know until you go out. For instance, I hate pyrotechnics. I hate music. I hate that, because like when I come out, I gotta feel where you're at.
Yeah, that's the same here. Like I always ask not to go out to music.
Please don't.
And they never understand that. You know, they it's like, I don't need the crowd to get up. You know, my job is to get them up.
Yes, and like if I go out there and there's like a really good buzz going, I'll probably start on a 1 or a 2. If I go out there and they're sitting on their hands, I might start on a 5, bring it to a 3, back to a 7, back to a 4.
No, I understand that 100%.
I know you do.
Yeah,
and it's you get a master's in crowd psychology.
Yeah, this idea of like, you know, they go, please, you know, and all this hype, and then you go out. It's like, no, that's how I should be leaving.
That's how yes.
That shouldn't be, you know, don't dig me a hole. Like, how am I going to get, you know, I need to bring them up, you know?
Yeah, how am I going to get out of here? And a lot, sometimes, when I was at the Comedy Store, you know, if somebody had a good set, the next guy was a little hesitant coming up.
Oh, sure.
Where in our business, if somebody had, we'll just call it a set, had a good set, couldn't wait to get there so you could steal and harvest it. You know?
Right. Well, I always, you know, I never had a problem. I shouldn't say it that way. But I never psychologically had a problem going on after anyone. I always thought it was funny. I didn't care. Like, you know, whoever that person was, that'll be a challenge. You know, I'll go on after, you know, the different acts and guys that people would never follow, because it made it funny to me. You know, it
brought out your.
Well, I started when I was 15. You know, and I got on Letterman when I was 20.
I started.
Yeah. So eventually, what happens is you're going, okay, I know how to do this. Now, what can make this interesting for me? It's
no kid. Like, I'll play cucaracha.
Yeah, you know? exactly.
I know it's not on the playlist, but
you know,
yeah.
But, it is interesting that the comedians. I guess, but I shouldn't include all comedians. I do think I've always been more interested in getting a reaction than being loved. You know, I always feel like in real life I have enough friends.
You have friends?
I do. I have one friend. I have Tom Kenny. My buddy Tom Kenny, I should mention, he's SpongeBob SquarePants. I don't want to name drop.
Cool.
But we've known each other since we were 6 years old.
Was that Sponge Pop? Sponge Drop?
Sponge Scratch Gold Pants. No, it's Gold Bond. It was Tom Kenny's SpongeBob SquarePants, and he does a lot of other voices. He's on Adventure Time.
I've done a show.
But we've known Tom. We met each other in first grade. we went to Catholic school, and there was this nun that was my teacher. We weren't in the same classroom, and whatever I did, I made her cry. And so she brought me into his classroom, and she's sobbing.
You know,
and
it's
I
a
was
representative of God. Just go
yeah,
ahead.
I know.
But
It's married to God. And
Yes.
and so she just comes and she goes, I can't take him anymore, and left me in his classroom. And I was really upset. I thought I wasn't going to see my friends anymore.
That's
And
why
he-
you're upset.
And he thought it was really cool. I could make a grown nun cry. So he introduced himself at lunch. He was like, "Who is this guy?" You know?
And is that your first, the first time that you were ever introduced kind of to that art?
No, because I wasn't. I really wasn't trying to make this woman cry. I just.
Just a special talent you had.
Well, now they probably. Thank goodness I didn't grow up when I did. I grew up when I did grow up, because I'm sure they would have. They would have dialed me in with some Ritalin or something. You know what I mean? Like
Can you imagine if they had spy cams back when we were growing up?
Oh, you mean for the classrooms?
No, for the road.
Well.
Whoosh.
Well, it is weird now when you're on stage. As soon as the show goes off the rails, everybody's phones go out.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of
Sucks.
It kind of robs you from. You're kind of in. I stopped doing stand up for about 5 years, and when I came back, the whole iPhone explosion had happened, and it took me a few months to adjust. And I just said, well, this is the world now. Everything gets recorded, and you just have to deal with it. You're not gonna get people to turn off their phones. You're not gonna. This is the world. And I think those are the kind of lessons that you kind of have to do all the time. Either, if you don't, you're just going to turn into an old guy, yelling at kids to get off your lawn.
Yeah, but when you said that, doggone it, I lost my. What did they do to you? I lost my train of thought, and it was important.
I don't know.
There you go.
But you know this. I mean, there was a time when you did a show, and if someone asked you for your photo, it was someone who brought a camera.
Got it. Yes. So I'm doing a show, a stand-up. I'm not a stand-up comedian. I tell them how great they are all the time, so they know that I respect and appreciate them. I'm more a storyteller kind of guy. To take about 2 hours for me to get my stuff done. But they have patience for me, because they're not expecting me to make them laugh, to how many laughs per minute and stuff. And so I get a little grace period there.
Yeah, but you get the same, it's something you earned. And also, if you think about the great comedians, they are storytellers. You know what I mean? They've already done their time, so they've had to go up in front of crowds that didn't know who they were and deliver a punchline every 60 to 90 seconds. So I don't think that's putting what you do down.
Interesting. So, where was the first time you performed?
I started doing stand-up when I was a kid, and I would do it. We were like in punk band, so I got thrown out of a band called the Dead Ducks. So then I just started doing stand-up in between the bands, garage bands when we were kids, and we'd play in a church and stuff like that, and I'd be in the basement doing stand-up. And then I got doing stand-up, like really getting $20 going on stage. It was a club outside of Syracuse in Skinny Atlas, New York, called the Old Stone Mill, which is interesting because the guy who put me on that night is the guy who I'm finishing up a documentary on. He's a fascinating man, so that's my last movie. I'm still in the middle of it, kind of, but it's a documentary on a guy named Barry Crimmins, who's just a fascinating guy, a political satirist, but he has his own story about dealing with his. And it doesn't sound that. It sounds like something you might not want to rush out and see, but it's him dealing with child abuse as an adult, And the fascinating thing is through making this movie. I'm not like a guy who beats a drum for causes, but it's so fascinating to run into all these adult men who it might be the last thing that we don't talk about, So it's great to see this guy who's this tough guy, who's a fascinating guy, talking about it, his child abuse and the help. He's helped so many other people afterwards through it. And in fact, he even went and, he was involved in going to the Senate and changing some laws. And this is a bar comic who turned it all around, you know. So that's the documentary I'm making right now.
And do you have a working title? Do you have a title?
Yeah, it's called Call Me Lucky.
Call Me Lucky.
Because you know, we went into the basement where he was abused as a kid, and it's very graphic. And he says, you know, and he said on camera, he goes, you know, I'm not a victim anymore, and that guy went to jail, and I'm a testimony to what you can do with your life, and I've had all these friends and all these experiences, and then he just says, you know, call me lucky.
You know what? We're going to take a break, and then I want to add something to that and see what you think of it. Ladies and gentlemen, Bobcat Goldthwait, one of my all-time favorite guys, and the fact I got him down here just thrills me to death. We'll be right back after this break. Look out now! Yeehaw! I tell you, they know you're coming. They know you're coming. I'm with the great Bobcat Goldthwait, excuse me, and proud to be with him.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Now, when those bagpipes start, is that drums or machine gun? Are they trying to shoot the bagpiper?
Those are the tenors.
The tenors.
The tenors.
It sounds like it's got a bit of a percussion there. It's what is that?
It's their snare drums.
Okay.
And that's when you're marching. Keep that beat going.
Right.
Have you ever heard of the Boy Scouts?
Of course.
Okay. Do you know why the Boy Scouts became Boy Scouts?
No.
Thank you for saying no. During the First World War, the world was kind of coming from horses. They started having tanks, mustard gas. And one of the things that over in Europe that happened was these boys, they just dug in trenches because it was just so brutal. But they couldn't communicate with them. So a guy named Lord Baden-Powell, who's the founder of the Boy Scouts, because I was a Boy Scout, and would get these kids, and here's a message. Get it to the next foxhole. Here's a message. Get it. And that's the way they communicated. And they became the Boy Scouts. Now, in America, if you complete the program, the best you can do is an Eagle Scout, which is very cool. In Canada, when the King's there, the best you can do is a King Scout. Well, the Queen was there when I didn't, so I'm a Queen Scout.
You're a Queen Scout. All right. So is it really? Is it? Come on.
I'm not shitting you.
Is it a kilt or a skirt at this point? This is a Queen Scout.
See, you gotta have a lot of cojones. Jeez, I saw. You were telling me what was
Tom Kenny.
Tom Kenny.
Yeah.
And what was the name of it? You're going to working title.
The new movie is Barry Crimmins, and it's called Call Me Lucky.
Call Me Lucky.
Yeah.
So I just want to. So you were talking about child abuse, etc. Anybody that knows about child abuse and isn't reporting it, you're just as guilty yourself. Yeah, you know
that's actually the spoiler alert. That's the end of the movie. You know, he says
I just fucked up your movie, didn't I?
Yeah, no, Barry says, you know, at the end of the movie, he says, tell someone, and then he takes a beat and he goes, tell everyone. You know, and it's about trying to remove the stigma of talking about it, because that's where it gets power. You know, it lives in the darkness. You know, and that's where all the power of abuse is. So. Yeah. It is really strange, the dude from Police Academy making a socially relevant movie. Yeah,
the one who lit the Tonight Show
on fire. Yeah.
Well, just before I get to that, how did you get to the matches and
to set the Tonight Show on fire?
Yeah, what was the thought process there?
You know, a lot of people think I was high when I did that, and I wasn't. I was just angry.
Well, you should have been. Okay?
I should have been. Then I would at least had an excuse.
Yes.
You know, I did learn this because I brought lighter fluid. It made me an arsonist because it's premeditated. So I was on probation for 4 years.
You're kidding?
No, I was on probation, and
come you got to give me a little of the setup.
Well,
that night,
I had just smashed the Arsenio Hall show up pretty good the week before, and then Leno had me on immediately because it was like on the news and stuff. You know, I remember I was sitting there coloring with my daughter, who was very little at the time, and the news comes on and goes, "Comedian goes berserk on the Arsenio Hall show," and her best friend is Lily Idol, who is Eric Idle's daughter, and she she goes, my daughter goes, sometimes you act like you don't have a brain in your head. And she's probably like 8. I go, well, it's just comedy. She goes, if it was comedy, it wouldn't be on the news. Lily's dad's not on the news.
It's not bad.
Yeah,
if it was comedy, it wouldn't be on the news.
Yeah.
Dad.
So then Leno books me immediately. And he was even like going, so don't smash up too much stuff on the show. And I'm like, I'm not. I'm going to light it on fire. I didn't say that to him. So I was doing panel. That's what I think is pretty funny about that broadcast, because I actually opened the lighter fluid in my pants, and then he's interviewing me. No, I think that's multitasking. And I go, so he goes, what happened over at Arsenio Hall? What happened there? And I go, well, and this is where I was kind of a jerk, because I go, well, it worked. He goes, what do you mean it worked? I go, well, I'm here. So
gotcha.
So
how did he take that?
That's where he gets really mad. And when I watch the tape over again, like the Zapruder film, and and then I go, well, I wanted to help you out. I know it sweeps.
The grassy knoll.
Yeah, the arsonist in the grassy knoll. So I set the chair on fire, and I knew it burned clean and burned out. And I actually had a buddy standing by with a fire extinguisher in case it got nuts. But
in case it got
a little nuts.
That's
well,
good.
you know that. None of this is an exact science.
No.
You know that. You have an idea. You may not even have a beginning, middle, and end mapped out in your head, but you know it's not an exact science. So they cut that out of the broadcast where Leno was screaming at me like, he gets going. He sounds like Dino, and he's cursing at me, and so I get charges brought up. And when I tell the story, I usually tell a joke version where I'm like, hi, I'm Bobcat Goldthwait. If you're ever on a talk show, don't set it on fire. But I had to do a PSA. That's not what it was. It's even more embarrassing than that. It was like, hi, I'm Bobcat Goldthwait. I can switch back and forth, but if you're seriously injured in a fire, it's so embarrassing. I couldn't even look in you in the eye. So the Burbank Fire Marshal didn't like my performance, and I had to go back and refilm it.
The fire marshal didn't like your performance?
Yeah, even the Burbank Fire Marshal wants to direct. He's like, I need an 8, and you're giving me a 4.
You're killing me.
So I had to go, and then I was on probation, and
okay, so just a second, though. I got to understand this. So, did you find the can there? Or
No, it was premeditated.
Oh, very premeditated.
Which was really funny because
did you not like him?
If we really want to break it down, it wasn't a question of liking Leno. It was a question of two things. One was I suddenly was on the Tonight Show, and I resented it because my ego was not very healthy, and I was like going, they should have always had, this grandiose thinking, know. And
I got that.
And then the other thing, which is weird, was I made it up until that point. I made my career making fun of other people, and now I was given the keys. They were going to accept me to regular TV. Was going to have me on a regular basis, and that was scary because that meant now I had to put up. I couldn't be the guy.
Was it scary because you had a responsibility now?
Yeah, now I had to actually. So who am I if I'm not tearing down other people? I got to actually make something. I have to be something. I have to make a product, and I think that fear made me implode. But that's I do know this though.
But just a second, so you know, you're skirting over it, Bobby.
No, but I was at a point in my career too where I was being booked on a lot of shows, but I was just becoming like I was like more infamous than I was. I wasn't making anything. I was becoming a personality. I was like having Monty Rock on, or I'm trying to, what I mean? Like I was Tiny Tim or something, And
through the tube.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm not happy just being known.
And those shows don't pay no money.
No, they don't pay any money.
So you get real famous broke.
You get famous, you're well known, and the byproduct is I wasn't making anything. I think there's a big shift in me when I started getting behind the camera, when I started writing my own movies. I think like the movies I make, if you want to see how I see the world, you see them in the movies almost more than in my stand-up. I'm very honest about this is how I see things.
Boy, do you ever. And I bring that to God Bless America. But I got to know, I'm not letting you go on this part. Okay, so it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. What time did they do the Leno show?
Yeah, they do it at 4.
4, okay. So it's noon. Bobby's woke up, And
You know, I've never really told the real story. You want to know what it was?
Please,
I was
please.
flying in like on a red eye,
got it.
and I was talking to this guy I didn't even know, and we were just talking about.
Were you drinking?
No. And I just said to this guy on this flight,
I'm throwing things at you, Bob.
no, I don't have an excuse. And it hit me. I go, I think I'm going to set the show on fire tonight.
Just talking to this total stranger.
Total stranger, and he thought it was a funny idea. Maybe it was one of those fans that stab you.
Yeah.
He thought it was a pretty solid plan.
And he knows, of course.
He had my back.
Yes.
Hey, what about Stan on the flight? He thought it was a good idea. So, the car's taking me to the set, taking me to the Tonight Show, and I actually say to the driver, I go, hey, can you pull over? And I go into 7-Eleven and I buy lighter fluid.
Because Bobby thought, or rather,
the guy on the plane thought it was a solid plan.
Guy,
This is a guy I never met or
couldn't
seen
miss.
since.
Yeah.
And then, and then I set it on fire. But
wait. So where do you put the?
I put it in my back pocket, and I opened it up. And so while he's interviewing me, I'm actually with my butt cheeks. No, I'm actually squeezing it out. I'm telling you, that was the skill. Like, I'm kind of being witty while I'm dousing the chair with my butt, you know.
So your butt squeezing
A little bit like playing a bagpipe.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
Bobby.
it is, because I'm squeezing it while I'm doing the other thing. So I'm playing him like a fiddle, and I'm squeezing lighter fluid onto the seat of the Tonight Show.
Okay, so now we've got the problem of to light. There's got to be a combustible
so I had
force.
I had a lighter with me,
but it was in the seat you were sitting in.
No, the lighter was in my hand. It was even worse. I actually had it like it was like this was terrible. It was actually again, this is an exclusive. It was actually taped to my arm. It was
not the rifle.
lighter, because I didn't want to be fumbling
the rifle's
around.
next. The lighter. The lighters. Okay, so you've got it taped to the arm.
Yeah, because
John
I thought
Wilkes Booth and
if you go to fumble, it's going to be embarrassing.
of course.
You don't want to look an idiot. You don't want to look stupid when you're setting the Tonight Show on fire.
No, and gotcha.
And he's like saying, "What did you do over there, Arsenio Hall's show?" And I said, "Well, I know it sweeps, and that's why I'm here." So
and
butt
cheeks.
I thought I'd set your chair on fire. So I turned around and I actually gave it another squirt when I lit it on fire. And it's funny because Lauren Hutton was the guest, and she just put it out with a cup of water. But it did burn pretty good. When I saw the footage, I was like, "Holy crap!" But the funny thing is like, the whole thing was, what if it's something happened to Lauren Hutton? And in reality is, I went out to dinner with Lauren Hutton that night. It was
everything was tickety boo.
Yeah, everything was fine. Everything was fine.
So okay, what did
the police report's really funny because they describe how did what did they call me? The
arsonist.
But it was the subject.
Yeah, comedian.
No, it was like. It wasn't, the suspect or something like that. How did the suspect enter? And
allegedly.
And they were like limousine. How did I get there? Limousine.
Gotcha.
They supplied me in the limo.
Okay, so now, boom, the chair goes up. Bang, the gal,
she puts the water out.
Boom,
I slip actually on the water and land on my ass, but that never came up in court.
I'd love to see that.
The footage doesn't exist. NBC just pulled it. You can only
Serious?
see. Yeah, it just doesn't exist. You could see like a little bit of it on Larry Sanders, but outside of that, it doesn't exist. And then, that was the one thing. Is like the attorney. I just thought I'd plead no contest, and my attorney, when we get there, she says plead not guilty, and I'm like, I saw the footage.
It's gonna be
I'm pretty
hard.
sure it's me. Not unless there is a third arsonist in the grassy knoll. I might be going down on this one. So
I saw the footage. I'm relatively sure.
I think that's me.
That could be.
I'm pretty sure. It is from the back.
Oh, jeez. So, okay, just hang on now. So, boom's butt cheeks, boom, fire, water. Now, did they attack? Are you boom down?
No, I didn't get. I just
Gang
sat there.
tackled?
No, I just stand there, and Leno comes around and he pushes me in to sit in it, and he does the rest of the interview. It's really horrible, and then he yelled at me a lot while the credits roll.
Okay, so how much long? I can't believe this.
I have apologized to the guy because it wasn't
Do you
really.
think that's going to help?
Well, no, it wasn't like about like I didn't apologize because I was like, oh, I got to get back on the Tonight Show. It was just a mean thing to do to a guy. It was really aggressive.
Yeah. Did you have any like any task with him before?
No, I kind of didn't.
Just was a good spot to flex your bug cheeks.
Yeah, I can't say that I was like buddies with him. I knew the guy, and I always just thought Jay was different because, Jay and there's a certain group of comedians who worship the joke telling kind of thing, and if you're not doing that, then you're not really a comic.
Yeah,
So I've never been one of these guys that has. I've never been so enamored with joke telling and writing because at the end of the day, I'm interested in getting an effect from the audience, or also I like a comedian who, when they get done, I go, oh, I see how he sees the world. I may not even agree with it, but I see how he sees the world.
So there's so much more to you than take my wife, please.
Or just where the socks go in the dryer, and crafting good jokes never meant anything. And so there was a little bit of Jay, I'll have to say, who was always kind of like put himself in a elderly statesman kind of position.
I can see that.
And he would give advice, and you wouldn't necessarily want advice. My heroes were Groucho Marx, Andy Kaufman, Keith Moon. My heroes weren't
Groucho Marx.
Yeah, people who are anarchic.
Rebels.
Yeah, so as an adult man, I wasn't really interested in hearing these things.
So you're just saying I could give a shit whether you booed me or cheered me
or
whatever you wanted to do.
Or like when you did so when you do that, that's a good bit, and and it's like I don't care. I'm trying to I'm doing something else. And that's how I feel about the movies I make now. They're very small, they're very independent. But they're just my deal, It's not like I'm not trying to get rediscovered. I'm not trying to, I know that I'm not going up against Iron Man every time I make a movie,
See, Bobby, those are snare drummers, okay?
I still think it's machine guns.
It's machine guns.
I got a clean shot at the bagpiper.
Welcome back to part 2 with Bobcat Goldthwait. Holy cow. Sure did get quite a reaction from part 1, and I'm still on the air. It's cool stuff. We were talking about you and your butt cheeks. And
setting the Tonight Show on fire.
Oh, that's right. Setting the Tonight Show on fire. Thank you. I've been blowing the bagpipes a long time. Okay, so they didn't jump you. Okay, I'll catch
No,
them up.
what's funny? They did jump me on the Arsenio Hall show that we glazed over. That was even more. I caused more damage on that show.
Okay, so what did you cause on the?
Well, Arsenio, remember, he got a raw deal because he was syndicated, and Chevy Chase had that car wreck of a show that they So they
quit pulling punches. Would you say?
Yeah, but so Arsenio was forced in like 70% of the country to go on after that show. So it cost him a lot of his viewers, and
Gotcha.
Paramount was dropping him. So I said to him, "Are you really going off the air?" And he says, "Yeah." And I go, "Well, let's not make it easy for them." And I took some spray paint and I spray painted on the back of his set, "Paramount sucks." And then I started throwing the seat cushions in the audience. The audience was going nuts. And then I took it was like a $5,000 monitor, and I just tossed it. And then I put my feet through the back of it with these steel-toed work boots I had on. And then
the crowd loving it.
Crowd's going nuts. Arsenio tackles me, and he's wrestling me to the ground. And he whispers in my ear, and he goes, "Thank you."
I love you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I guess thank you.
Yeah.
And then Cicely Tyson was the next guest, and she wouldn't come out because it said Paramount sucks. So they had to interview her off to the side of the show.
Okay, and so the very next
week, I get called to do the, and then, people think like this ended my career, my run, but like show business would have just let me keep doing this because immediately I was booked on Regis and Kathy Lee.
Sure.
And I wanted to throw up on the show. I wanted
trying to top yourself, right?
Yeah, an artist, you got to switch mediums.
Yes.
So I tell Shandling that I'm gonna put Epicac, the stuff that induces vomiting, in a coffee mug, and then ask her, Kathy Lee, about her kids or something, and then throw up. And so Shanley goes, "That's really funny. Will you tell that story on Larry Sanders?" I go, "But I want to do it." He goes, "Well, we'll just tell it." So I tell that story on Larry Sanders, but then I go to do Regis and Kathy, and the producer stops me in my dressing room, and she's like, "Where's the Epicac?" I go, "Come on, that was a gag for a TV show."
It's a joke. Yeah.
And they pat me down, and then
They pat you down?
Yeah, I'm one of the few frisked guests. And lo and behold, there's the Epicac in my coat pocket. I was like, "How'd that get there?" So they gave me a fire extinguisher on the air, which they thought was funny, until I took the pin out and I hit Regis with it.
Regis.
And then I chased Kathy Lee up the audience with it. But
Yeah,
I don't know if a fire extinguisher is bad.
I have hit people with fire
Yeah,
extinguishers.
the problem is it sucks the oxygen out of the room.
I had one stripper go down.
Yeah.
And in Trump Plaza I did it, and had the first, there was two, there's two fire extinguishers out of Morton Downey Jr., and they let some of the fluff out of the one, but the other one they didn't.
Yeah.
So I grabbed that one, of course. And boy, it's great when you let them have it.
It's great, but it sucks the air out of the room. And all the audience was these old women who couldn't breathe.
Yeah, but it's great.
So I was gainfully employed as long as I was willing to go on and destroy these shows. They just couldn't have enough of it in a weird way, And but I the price you pay is you end up in jail or worse. So I kind of just removed myself from the equation at that point.
So how long before you worked?
Well, I worked, that's the thing. It's like I had so much heat, It's like
you were booked.
It was like the Sex Pistols, when they would just, be horrible, and they would verbally trash a talk show, and then they were just invited on to more and more and more.
Same as me when I was young. The more trouble I got into, the more they encouraged it.
Yeah.
Because the more it made the paper, the more people came to boo me.
Yeah. But the price is on you. Can you live like that? It's exhausting. And it's funny. It's weird to do this stuff sober, because people, whenever someone screws up, they say they go to rehab.
What's that?
Yeah. Well,
is that fun?
No, but my friend Barry Crimmins, who I was talking about, he says he has a retox set up for me. I've been sober 33 years, and he insists that I'm not an alcoholic, and that there's a case of beer in his house at all times.
Not going for it.
Yeah. But that's the guy who loves you, who teases you like that.
Yeah.
That's not somebody who's not supportive. He gets it. He gets it. Like when I got sober, he's the guy that peeled, opened up his wallet and said, "Go home, get your act together," and gave me cash.
When I'm with my friends, I don't drink, and I'm an alcoholic and a drug addict, and I get mad when my friends don't drink. Don't make my mistake.
Don't make me also the freak in the room.
Yeah, please knock. I'll drive you home.
Yeah, and obviously if there's someone who did it like us, we don't want them to.
No.
But my friends that can handle it, there's so many of my friends that can handle it that I love being around when they have a good buzz, because they treat it the right way. It's just a social lubricant for them. They're not
social lubricant.
By the way, I was way nuttier as a teen when I drank than anything I did on a talk show. I was always, that ego comes pouring out, where I'm picking fights with cops, and you're just a loudmouth and destructive,
Yeah.
So it's
okay.
It's good I stopped.
It's good, yeah. Well, I'm just going to take a chance here that you won't.
What happened? 33 years. He did Piper's Pit, and then he got tight. It just
one pit.
Boom,
back in the shit.
Yeah.
When I got 4 Deweys and a plethora of other stuff that's not necessary to go over, and I went to rehab, and the way I met Bobby is just out of kindness on his own, came by and picked me up and made sure I got to meetings and was there when I needed. If you've never been like that, God bless you and keep on rolling. But if you have, you'll understand what an attachment you get to somebody that would come by for no other gain than to help you out. And that's how I met Bobcat and fell in love with him. I just wanted to say that. Moving on, go ahead.
Oh, that's very sweet, but
No, it's the truth.
well, thanks.
You know, so though, nothing compared to what I'm going to say about you now there, Chief.
Yeah, I know.
So now, let's see. We talk, I'm a wrestler, so the movie that you're doing right now about the guy that was abused is called?
Barry Crimmins. It's called Call Me Lucky. It's a documentary.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me give you a quick story, Rod story. I'll make it quick. Everything is accurate. I'm again in this Indian reservation. I'm 6 years old, and it's also a lumber mill, and it gets like 30, 40 below in the wintertime. So there was a highway that goes through. It's still the toughest Indian reservation in Canada. And as I ran across the street, I got hit by a pickup truck. But there was no outside damage, and so nothing was done. And I had this girl, this friend of mine. I'm in grade 1, which I got first grade. The man had to pull me, and I was hanging onto his ankle. I was crying so hard. And they have a strap in Canada. It's 3 layers of leather in about 3 inches wide and about a foot deep with a handle. And Miss Hill, her name was, says, I take care of the little boy. And she beat the shit out of me. It stops you from crying.
Wow.
So here's this God's true story now. So I'm coming back with Arlene Philly, I think her name was. And I was rolling on the logs and boom, fell in the water. And I was so scared to go home. Her dad across the street, it was a like you buy anything at the store kind of thing, like Aquavelva. The
right.
Indian gentleman would come in, would you like the party size or whatever? That was his sense of humor. And now I'm soaking wet. And I'm so scared. We go over. She's got a garage, and it's got a pot-bellied stove in the garage. And I'm taking off my clothes and putting them on the wires that they had to dry out. And it gets so, and so is she. And it gets so, I'm naked. And I'll be honest with you, I don't remember where she was at it. And her mom came into the garage. And in those days, there was one policeman for 250 miles. It's called an RCMP policeman, Royal Canadian Mounted Police. And she was a very religious woman. And she came in and saw that, and she screamed rape.
Oh, my God.
And what did she do? She called the cops. And you know who that cop was? My dad.
Wow.
And I just, holy cow.
And you were 6.
I was 6.
Dear God.
I mean, like, lady, really?
Yeah.
And there's other stories that aren't interesting to go into at all. They called me, I was called like the town pervert.
Wow.
Every place I went, I was there for a year. People can really screw up your life.
Yeah.
So this gentleman became a stand-up comic.
Stand-up comic.
And then how did you get there with him?
Well, I knew him as a young man. He was hosting the comedy show, and later in life, when he disclosed his own abuse, he was trying to go through it, as he says. He says you don't go around a problem, you go through it. And he found all these other when he was looking for other survivors of the same kind of thing. This was the early days, mid to early 90s, where on AOL chat rooms were the thing, and he was looking for other survivors, and he ended up finding guys exchanging child pornography. So he went to AOL. They kind of turned a deaf ear to it. So he went to the cops. The cops weren't even online looking for pedophiles at the time. So he posed as a kid, got all this evidence, turned it over to the police. Arrests were made. But in the meantime, he was invited to the floor of the Senate to take on AOL and say, hey, man, get your act together. And he does an amazing job on the floor of the Senate. He's so funny. You know, this guy's going, we have a 3 strikes policy at AOL. He goes, I think 1 strike is good enough when we're dealing with pedophiles. I don't know where you're playing baseball.
Yeah.
and it's funny, all these stodgy senators, you see him like do this real Frank Capra kind of speech, you know. And so that's in the picture. That's in the movie.
Picture.
Yeah.
I throw this at you. I pulled a switchblade on vice principal when I was in junior high school, and I'm not proud of it at all. But here's I've just given it to you. It was in Toronto, and they had a swimming pool, and they insisted that you swim naked. To this day, if you go into Canada to the YMCA's and stuff, it's insisted. I don't get it.
There's no reason for that. It's so weird.
And you know, I didn't know where to go. Back, boom, flick knife, and then you know, it didn't go well for Rod again. That's Victorian bringing up.
Yeah,
I'm brought up Victorian hardcore.
There's a lot of like systematic abuse that was set for young boys. I should just say this that over and over again, and it's again, you know, the movie's about turning a light on it, you know, and making it okay to talk about. You know, what's funny is the other thing that's funny is as much courage as Barry Crimmins has. We tell the story, and on top of it, he's still funny, you know, which is amazing, you know. So
I don't know how he does that.
Well, he just lays it out, man. You know, he's on stage and he's just being so honest, you know, and it's the best kind of humor, you know, when it's healing.
Yeah, when you Bobby, when you start to think of a project, I as I said, had the pleasure of coming down and seeing God Bless America. I got to tell you, again, to be the truth of it, where I pick it up is when the baby's being thrown in the air.
Gets shot.
And honestly, like, I'm kind of going, because like,
what the hell's wrong with this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I got 4 kids. I just told you about my 6. Gee, I wonder if he likes fire. You know,
you know,
burn this asshole.
You know, nobody told
the
parent that that's what that scene was. When the spoiler alert, maybe a baby gets shot in the movie, but it
was stiff.
The folks come in, they go, what are we shooting today? And it's like, your baby. It's like, and clearly nobody. I was like, oh no, this is going to be a long day.
It was stiff. But then, as the movie went on, you started to understand the way you were bringing about your point of how screwed up the country is.
Yeah, and you know, I like to say it's a very, very violent movie about kindness. You know, and that's what the movie's about. And if I was to make a movie that just made the same points that I make, and I didn't wrap it in all this gore and insanity, I don't think the people who I'm trying to parody and reach out to even would be aware of the movie. Yeah, it would just be another whiny doc.
There you go. Yeah, another whiny doc. There you go. Like Bush got my attention.
Yeah, well, and
right
also,
away.
Also, you know, and I don't know if it's Alien or Aliens, but there's I think Alien where the alien bursts through the guy's chest.
Yes.
For another almost 50 minutes, there's nothing, no gore, nothing. But you're still freaked out, and you're at the end. And I knew in this movie, I was like, I'm not going to have the budget that I would like to have. So if I shoot a baby, at least for another 50 minutes, you're going to be going, what the hell?
It does.
Yeah.
Really gets your attention for the. Still hasn't worn off for me.
Talk about exact science. Like, when we shot that scene, there was so much gore all over.
Yeah.
And I said to the guy, I go, well, you know, when we're filming the other side on the mom, can you give me a little more? And she's just doused with gore. And he said that to me. He goes, that's not an exact science. I'm like,
is that what he said?
Yeah, there's baby on the ceiling. It's just the whole studio. We left that studio with stuff all around.
It's not an exact science.
It's not an exact science.
You know, we're working on it.
Yeah.
But it did well. It did well.
I mean, people, you know, all the movies that I make don't necessarily become They're not well known, but I'm fortunate enough to run into people who they're passionate about the different movies, and they're all different, like I did a Bigfoot movie, which it was just a scary Bigfoot movie just because I wanted to know if I could scare people. And then I did God Bless America and World's Greatest Dad, which is another movie which that was with Robin Williams, and that's a movie about loneliness, and again I wrapped it in some kind of unpleasantries, but at the end of the day, again, these are issues for men. At the end of the day, that story is, are you man enough to be kind to yourself? To take care of yourself, which is one of the things that's not really stressed in our culture.
Yeah,
giving yourself a break.
That you have to have a license to hunt, license to fish. Any asshole can have a kid. Takes a man to be a father. And like these kids that are running around with guns, where's their dad?
Right.
Where are they? Hey, come here. Why aren't they catching them? I got to take a break. We're going to be right back and get into Bobby's new movies and some questions that I want to ask him. We'll be right back after this. So, if you're going to shoot a baby...
What have we learned?
What have we learned today so far, class? Is butt cheek squeezing fire. What we were just talking about. If you want to have a child, I don't know how to. I just say it. Sometimes I'm not a very political guy, but. You need to have your shit together, and I think there should be some kind of at least get 3 on your IQ test before you can have a baby.
Right. Well, it shouldn't be a decision made. The problem is it shouldn't be made at the time that you're making a baby.
Good point.
Those are not the times to making this is
just one more time, baby.
Yeah, or just like it's one of the weirdest byproducts of my daughter's an adult, and I never. When she was growing up, and she grew up in Los Angeles, I never was concerned with her being my friend, and I think that's the problem a lot of parents, especially in Los Angeles, make. They want to be the hip parent. They want to be the parent that the kids like. I was concerned with being a dad, and the weird byproduct is now I have this adult daughter who I'm very close to, and I didn't see that coming, to have my daughter say you're my best friend and things like that.
See, my son's my best friend.
Yeah.
But it is a mistake. How do I say it? As they're growing up, there is a time when they don't need someone to console them. They need someone to go, listen, you little asshole. What'd you do that for?
Yeah.
Now sit down and go clean it up.
That's 13 to about 17. Where you're the biggest idiot in the world, and you got to be okay with being the biggest idiot.
Yeah, and there's a way to make them feel okay at the same time. You got to get it right. You can't be hurting other people. Yeah. As a fighter, as a professional, one of the fellows that taught me is the greatest in the history of the world. He's the godfather of MMA. His name's Judo Gene LaBelle. And he's been teaching me since
I know Gene.
You know Uncle Gene?
Yeah, of course.
I've written books with him.
Everybody knows him. He's the best.
He's
such a character, too, and he's funny.
He's great. Yeah. And if you don't know Uncle Gene, when Uncle Gene was, I think, going for the Nationals or something in judo, they washed his gi with like something red, like a towel, and it came out a light pink. And he's 80 years old. He still wears the same damn gi. Could care less, right? Just gotta bring it on.
Yeah.
But he had when you're getting beat up as bad as I got beat up, there's a lot of man lessons there. There's a lot of man line. Knowing what you can do, what you can't do, what you're supposed to do. And one of the things is you can't go out and be physical with someone on the street. That's
right.
And you will get ostracized by your community if you learn that and then you be a dumb bunny and go out there. Well, it's almost the same thing as,
Well, I know that like I can, there's not a heckler situation that I can't handle, but I also know that ability to do that, it's not allowed to do that in my life. I can't use that same ability I have to dismantle someone's ego and decimate them.
Because it's a lifer. You can do it so well.
You can do it so well. You could do it. You don't want to do it in your relationships. You don't want to do it to the stranger in traffic. You just kind of just got to let it all go. You're just constantly sitting there. It's so funny. It is just like that. You would know how to dismantle someone, and you have to sit there and go, and just let it go.
Yeah, and you go, come on. No,
and you go, I know I could.
Yeah.
And it's like, you meathead, I could verbally abuse you so bad that you would have no idea, and I have to go, just let it go.
Yeah, and when you're dealing with your kids, when you're in this business where, you want to fire, let's shoot.
Yeah.
You got to be careful when you're talking to your kids. Because you can injure them for life with a word, with a statement.
Well, sometimes the biggest lesson I learned in regards to the same in my relationship now with my daughter is being there and listening is 90% of it. Sometimes, it's just letting them talk. Because I don't know about you, I've been there shrink long enough that when sometimes they hear this stuff out loud and they go, oh, this is what am I doing?
I haven't really been. I've been to a couple of shrinks. I've never been asked back.
Really?
No, we don't want nothing from him. Nothing. I came to New York. What was the name of the movie that I did one day? You was the director.
Oh, it's a show I did. It's called Friends of the People, and it's on now on True TV.
It's on now.
Yeah, and your bit should be coming up, and I don't know when, but it was the kids, that cast I really love. It was so funny. They wrote it, and their dream was to have you in it.
Oh.
But seriously, they wrote it, and that was their dream, And so I'm reading the script, and they go, "But we're never going to get Roddy Piper." And I go, "Do you want me to text him?"
Is that what you said?
Yeah, and at that point, I was the coolest guy. They couldn't believe it, so their minds were blown. But yeah, so they were just such huge fans. They actually, I kind of feel like they wrote that bit so you could come and be there. And
they were sweet,
and they were a great group, and folks seem to really like that show. It's been getting good reviews and stuff.
The Golden Pineapple Award, I think.
From that day. Yeah, it's a very funny sketch show. And like I said, it just started airing, and it is popular, and it's getting good reviews, and people like it.
So, like you told me one time, you and I were having a cup of coffee, and we're talking about life in general, and you said, I never ever thought that I'd ever be a director back in the day.
Right.
I mean, and so now, which is better, directing or performing? If
Well, there's a connection you make with a live directing. I'm not going to give you a line of hooey.
Thank you, sir.
Especially when it's something that I wrote and I directed and I make it into something and it connects with an audience, The problem with stand-up is you have to keep the dumbest person in the room occupied. And when you make a movie, they just go to some studio picture, they're not. When it all comes together, you're directing and it connects or it works for somebody, that's a pretty good buzz.
Yeah, and you write at nighttime, is that?
Yeah, I write, and I write a lot. That's the other thing. Like, folks, if this is the kind of path you want to be on, if you write, I write a lot of screenplays. A lot of them will never get made, but I write them so when I find the budget, when I find the people, I'm good to go. I'm ready to make them, and I don't think of it as one shot. I just it's just another tool, just as I used to go to a million open mic nights. I still write in the same kind of mentality.
Nice.
I think the key is folks, if there isn't anything from my story, and I don't know who knows my story, but I often say, keep quitting until you end up someplace you don't want to leave. And
keep quitting until you end up someplace you don't want to leave.
Because it's like, we have responsibilities and we have to make a living. We have to take care of our families. But also it's okay to take that giant leap that's always scary, because whenever you do, it pans out. It's just so scary just before you do it.
You got to have the balls.
Yeah, just keep doing it until I didn't think that I would be, I love, like, I direct not just my own stuff, but I work with other comedians. Like I work on Mark Maron's show, and I work on, like I said, I used to direct Jimmy's show, and working with guys that are funny, that I respect, and helping facilitate them. That's a great job.
I went over to England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, and I did 26 hours and 13 days improv on stage. And, excuse me, let me say it correct. Like, they'd all of a sudden, they'd put something up like 8 by 10 of Flair. I'm on a roll. Or, Bruno or the Bear. Right. And it was never the same every night. And I remember I said, I want you to direct me on Broadway. If I ever get it, ever get it there, I'd love you to come and direct me on Broadway. Because I'm trying to say something where even when I work in the ring, or at this stage of my life when I'm doing an interview, there's something underlying that I'm usually getting over. And I can talk on many different levels at the same time, kind of try to get my point across.
Sure. I would think it's really funny if you think about, personally, this interview has touched upon a lot of things that I've never talked about. So
well, thanks, man.
It's really funny if you think about the characters involved. These two goofballs.
They're afraid of their own shadow.
This might be the deepest interview I can recall. Where I was very, very honest. Yeah.
It's I think as much as you've performed and as much hate mail and as many times as you get fired, after a while, where the adulation comes from the younger people that are in the business of what to do and what not to do. And, there's certain things I won't do for a job. It's just, nope, no thanks, won't do this, won't do that. There's certain things I just won't do. Because I was taught in my business, after they quit beating me up the first 4 years and took me under their wing, the deal was you pass it on. It's free of charge. Don't want nothing for it.
Right.
And don't want to interfere with anybody, but the deal was pass it on. And then they got deep into training me and teaching me all the little different things that you do to make that place sing.
Well, that's the like this Friends of the People show that I'm working on. I'm twice the age of the cast, and it's a two-way street. They are teaching me, and then it's so nice to be invited along. It's crazy actually. I'm like, well, thanks guys. This is
it's hard to believe. I got a kid. I a lot of people do Twitter, all these different things, and I'm technically challenged, but I've been talking for 6 months to this kid from Beirut. Never met him.
Right.
And he's got some problems, real sharp kid, and I Skype him, how you doing? And I'll be right there. And it's funny how that comes because, like, who would have been one of your mentors if you had one? Like I'll go to Judo Jean LaBelle, Leo Garibaldi,
right.
Warren Buck.
It's. I really would have to say Robin. Even though Robin was my best friend, he never treated me. He always treated me as if I was a peer.
Gotcha.
And he landed on the beachfront about 7-8 years in front of me, and he just was my whole life. He just we were friends for 32 years. So he he always acted like whatever problems I was having or whatever career thing I was going through, he acted as if like that was just as important or even more important as whatever he was doing, you know?
Yeah, I met him at the same place with Andy Kaufman in the Improv, and he was so sweet. He came out and he started rambling, and you could tell he was looking for throw something.
Yeah.
And like I was kind of in the front with my wife, and I know,
Sure.
and I'm going to scoot to the back. But when he was finished, boom, he come right to the back and sat down and.
Well, his whole thing was like making people. Not only would he make like a stranger laugh, but he also would laugh at what they had to say. Like he, it wasn't like. People talk about him being on all the time, but he was also listening to what you had to say. He's a pretty special guy. So
is it true that I heard that would be, I think, the common thing if the three of us were sitting here? If there's not a mic or something on, we don't really say a lot unless you're with a real close friend.
Well, that's the thing. Like people would say, I could get to know Robin, but I never got to know him, and it's like, well, that wasn't my case. We did. People would probably, if you eavesdrop on our conversation, you say, boy, these guys are boring. I mean, Bobcat and Robin. I'm sure that's a crazy conversation. What are these two CPAs? Who are these? Who are these boring humps? But we both felt comfortable dropping our guard around each other.
It's that special. I just did one with a podcast with Ace. Do you remember Ace, Cowboy Bob Orton? He used to stand behind me.
Yeah, sure.
And it's just saying like, he's my brother.
Yeah, it's these friends that are longtime friends. I talk about Tom Kenny's another guy. So he's I've known. These are more peers. Although it's funny. And I'm not doing this as a plug fest. Barry Crimmins, the guy I made the doc on, has always been a mentor. Always been. Like, because I knew him when I was when I started doing stand up, and he was always like, he would take me to task. He would say, "Well, you made your point, and then when you said this and that about that guy, that wasn't needed. You already, and he would really take me to task, and he still does. Like every time I make a movie, I'm nervous about that phone call from him, and it's so funny because he does take me to task, but then at the same time, he loves me unconditionally. So it's really crazy. But definitely was a big mentor. I don't think my act or even what I'm doing now, I would have been doing any of it if it wasn't for him.
Nice. You miss him?
Oh, no, this is Barry Crimmins, the guy I made the doc on.
You miss Robin?
Of course I do. My life...
What do you miss most about him?
It's just, we really were in constant contact. So it's just really strange, that I still can't wrap my brain around that he's not away on a location, when the phone rings and, I think it's him, So that's what I miss. I just can't wrap my brain around that.
How did you hear about it?
Oh, it's just immediately, the folks that all the folks that love and took care of him, they reached out to me as soon as it happened, and we were very close all the way right up until.
So like when you're by yourself, and as soon as you heard and you're by yourself, what were you thinking?
My initial response wasn't very good. It took me a while to put it all in perspective, and I've said this, I'm not a doctor, but his Parkinson's, and not everybody that has Parkinson's is affected this way, but it really was affecting his brain in a way that it wasn't. People want to say, "Oh, it's depression," or "It's this," "It's that." It's like, no, there was definitely a change, in that his own brain was attacking him, and. And I don't mean to make light of this, but this always makes me laugh. People go, "Did he ever talk about suicide?" I go, "We're comedians. We talked about suicide for 32 years.
How many different ways can we do it?"
Yeah, sometimes we talked about comedy. Occasionally we talk about movies.
I'm squeezing my butt cheeks right now.
Yeah. Did you ever talk about it? It's like, it was probably the icebreaker.
Yeah. No shit.
Yeah. So, So I miss my pal. That's one thing I said to it's I didn't lose the genie from Aladdin. I lost my pal.
Yeah. The very little time that I had with very little, the thing that I got from him is he was a giver.
Oh my goodness,
He was a giver.
so generous. Not just
almost to a fault.
not just the way people in show business are generous. Not just doing charity, and he was generous to his friends, but he was just generous to strangers.
To me,
he just.
This is in 70. I mean, please give me a little grace. 77, 78-ish, maybe even earlier. And I guess he was a wrestling fan, I don't know.
Yeah.
But then took the time to come all the way to the back and sit down beside me and not really say anything because somebody else was performing. Stage. Yeah.
No, he was really concerned. He was concerned that someone didn't perceive him as being slighted by him. He was concerned. He was just a gentle man. A very, very. I really don't know anyone sweeter than him.
Yeah. There's a movie about Wyatt Earp, and they're talking to Doc Holliday, and Doc Holliday was going to follow Wyatt into this thing, and the other guys say to Doc Holloway, "What are you doing?" And then Doc Holloway says, "I'm going to help my friend." And they say, "We got lots of friends." He says, "I don't." I do. I'm planning to have one more fight. Everybody says I'm crazy, but they've been saying that for like 32 years. So, Bobcat's been my favorite guest.
Oh, stop.
No, I don't bullshit. I'm great at ripping people apart. And I know, the one thing that we got on comedians, because you guys are great at it too, we will punch the shit out of you also.
Well, I think in a really, really, really weird way that you and I are very similar, and I don't know what it is, but we're very. I think there's a perception of us. I think we're both shit stirrers. I think we're both tenacious, and I think we're both still here. Yeah. And that's kind of really funny too, to be able to go. I don't know what you're saying about me, but I'm still around, So
thanks for being around.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for coming down. If I had to guess it, you probably do one podcast a lifetime.
I kind of I've been weaning myself off of them.
Because everybody's got one, right?
Everybody's got a podcast, but
and they're carrying it in their hand. And I was at the Comedy Store, and I won't mention the guy's name.
Really? And they came up and they're
carrying. Oh, and there's Roddy Piper.
Yeah, and you're like,
how are you?
Oh, now I'm on a podcast. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you letting me be as honest and talk about stuff I don't normally talk about. So thank you so much.
Because you're a man, you got a lot of courage, and you do good things for people. Please, I'm sorry again. Tell me the movie that you're working on.
Oh, there's Call Me Lucky is the new movie. It's a doc. All the movies, you can get them on all the digital platforms. Willow Creek is the scary Bigfoot movie.
Nice.
God Bless America, World's Greatest Dad.
And what was the one I was in?
That's Friends of the People. That's a new show on True
Friends
TV.
Friends of the People on True TV.
Yeah, and you're great in it. So hopefully folks will check it out.
I love you with all my heart, all my love for my family, your family. I can't thank you enough for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, Bobcat Goldthwait. It's an honor. We'll see you next time on Piper's Pit, and we'll have John Carpenter. There'll be a hell of a fight, I'll tell you.
Wow.
Until then, sayonara. That's a Scottish word.